Feeling hot, hot, hot. It's VGC, the video game podcast, episode 177, with me, Jordan Medler, Chris Scullion, Andy Robinson, and Alex Donaldson this week. But first, how's it going, folks? Chris Scullion, how are you?
I'm not very happy today for reasons that will become clear. Andy doesn't know yet. Alex doesn't know yet, but there'll be a great reveal later, which I know you're singing and danced about, but we'll get to that later.
Not at all. Alex Donaldson, how are you?
I think the same as everyone. It's too hot.
The people's warm public of Wokafornia.
This is Burnham's Britain.
Yeah.
Start my left
Andy.
office and straight away the mercury just went.
I'm looking forward to a lot of anti-Andy merch being released. Andy Robinson, who is furiously clicking his mouse for reasons that will soon become apparent. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Oh, wait a minute. Is that the Palace England top?
Oh, this?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Very nice. Come on now. How did you manage
so
that?
You like that England top, yeah?
I like Palace. I have nothing against... that's not true. I hate England. But I like Palace, and I thought that was quite a nice merch drop. How did you get on getting it? Because it seemed like a nightmare.
I was very lucky. This is the cheapest one, right? It's just a t-shirt.
I've no idea. I didn't try and partake.
The mad sneaker nutcases are buying like tracksuits and jackets and.
But you managed to get it all right.
Yeah,
it's
hit.
It's a
Three lions are here.
Yeah,
See,
Jules the May still gleaming.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the football. We're a terrible football team. We don't deserve to continue to be in the World Cup. The Palace stuff is interesting because the only Palace drop I've ever done successfully was the Heartogram stuff when they did a hymn collab, and that made me realize that I'm really too old for this sneakerhead culture now. I can't be bothered setting 50 alarms and doing the terrible apps and all the different bots and stuff like that. Not for me these days.
Hello, Chris Scullion, 43-year-old man here. What is Palace? Is this the new Supreme?
No. So Palace, well, kind of, but Palace is a British streetwear brand that very popular with skaters. They've done a collabs with like Adidas, and you'll probably recognize the logo if you saw it somewhere, but it is Supreme adjacent. They have a shop in Soho. It's one of those kind of gimmicks. And recently,
it's definitely one of those sorts of brands. From my perspective, my mum still buys me and my brother an England shirt every tournament, right?
Nice.
And this year's one just looks really crap. I don't even know if I could pull it off if I was 25, but I'm 40. And it's not a good design, so I needed something more casual.
The thing is,
more casual and more Shoreditch.
Yeah. The thing is, everyone, like, young people have become so obsessed with like retro football tops at this point. It's no longer unique to be like, oh, I have a Scotland 92 shirt, because everyone has reproductions of those shirts. So unless it's an authentic one, which they never are because the shirts weren't that widely sold back then, I have no respect for people that wear the fake reproductions. Like in the World Cup 2006, if you had like an England Gaza shirt for like when he actually played, that would actually be a little bit, oh, that's something a bit new. But now it's just like these 14-year-olds wearing football tops for Maradona's World Cup. It's like, get over yourself. Anyway, the Mexico shirt's lovely. I'm back in Argentina to go all the way. That's my team, Argentina. And not only because they hate the English as much as the Scottish do.
Oh, is this the part of the tournament where you adopt a new nation?
Oh yeah, I'm not even waiting till we're out. I'm ready to go. Japan.
You should be proud,
obviously.
mate. You should be proud. Like, it's an achievement. Like, in this World Cup, in this expanded World Cup, it's not easy to go out. Like, in the group stage, it's really difficult.
Very proud.
I'm very proud of Steve Clark, the footballing terrorist that has ruined my summer. I think that, honestly, after that first goal in the Brazil... I said we weren't going to talk about football. I don't care. After that first goal in the Brazil game, they should have taken us off the pitch and put us on a plane, because that was it. That should have been it at that point. Alex, thoughts on Japan and Daizan Maeda, who scored this morning in their 1-1 draw?
I mean, the team is one thing, but actually, can we talk about the joy that always comes with these tournaments of Japanese fans being taken in? Just I think just Asian fans in general as well. I'm sure some of you at least saw that amazing Korean fan as well who went viral in Brazil with like the Brazilian mamacita like all over him, and he's just loving life, and all this of Japan, you know, and all these news clips of Japanese guys going, I don't speak English, but, and then saying something really amazing. But yeah, look, they look like, you know, they've got that whole plan, right? Of how long was the plan? Was it 25 years to become a top tier footballing nation or something, right? Something like that. And it's funny actually. They're like, I mean, I'm not the most knowledgeable football person, but my read on that is they're actually further along on that plan than they think they are. Like they're ahead of schedule.
I wish they didn't. It's looking like they'll have Brazil in the next round, which is unfortunate because if they had like a daft team, they could probably go quite far. But Brazil might be a step too far from them.
Can you imagine if they upset Brazil though? Oh,
that'd be great.
Could you imagine such a thing?
They've got an upset. They've got an upset in them. They've got an upset in them. They're a good team. They're very well organised. And Brazil are not what they used to be.
Yeah. Despite Scotland making Brazil look like Brazil, Brazil have a big wreck in them. Like their midfield is like nothing. But yeah, let's move off this before I start crying.
I just have to say, can we just briefly acknowledge, obviously Saturdays to come, but you know, we had the great enjoyment of an amazing opening game from the England perspective, followed immediately by a crushing, just down to earth.
But the thing is, you're not into football, are you, Alex?
I grew up much more into it than I am.
No,
now.
but I'm not out to get you. I mean, like, I was about to make a point is that you can tell people who aren't really into football watching internationally because they're like, God, how bad you were. Like when. From like my perspective, like I've watched David Moyes teams for 3 seasons, right? That Ghana side have turned up not to play football.
Oh yeah, 10 at the back.
80% of the ball. Our team is literally set up. That's our weakness, right? If you're going to play England, you sit back and go on then, because we've left Foden and Trent Alexander-Arnold and people like that, technical players at home, where we want you to attack us so that we can run past you, right? So if you're going to play England, that's the perfect way to do it. We won't play many teams like that.
But I guess because that's the thing,
I'm not going to criticise them for that.
I didn't say they were terrible. I didn't say they were terrible.
I did.
No, I said the game. I said the game was a crushing back down to earth. After everyone was going, after everyone was going,
this is fun.
That was
the first game was very fun for the neutral. It was very fun
because I think we did the best we could when they were doing 10 at the back. just absolute.
It was a very boring hate watch, I have to say.
It was your PE defense.
Yeah. Honestly, because of the circumstances of this World Cup, I'm less invested on how England do, and I really want Portugal to have a humiliating exit. That would be more enjoyable for me than England going out early. For me, the joy is England getting to the final and then losing, because it's the hope that kills you. But anyway,
it's sad to hear you say that, because we all really wanted Scotland to do well.
I don't care. I don't believe your English lies. Anyway, more jingoism as the World Cup continues. If you'd like more jingoism, patreon.com/videogameschronicle is the place to go. You can get more podcasts, extra videos, and ad-free browsing on Video Games Chronicle. Go and check that out. You can also get your tickets to VGC Live, which is this October in Glasgow. Some bad news this week. It's bad news FC around here. Story number 1. Sony confirms it's laying off most of the Destiny team and some Marathon devs. The news was broken by the Destiny 2 studio in a statement on X, saying, quote, "With great sadness, we're announcing a reduction in force as we reorganize Bungie." It added, "As the leaders of Bungie, past and present, we recognize Destiny 2 fell short of expectations these past years. Following our final content update to Destiny 2, and with our future projects still in early incubation, we unfortunately could not continue to operate at our previous size. We know this decision has a profound impact on the people affected, their families, friends, and teammates. While these changes are necessary to best position the studio for now and the future, that does not lessen the difficulty of this moment and the impact on those affected. Later, we will share more about that future with all of you, but today is not that day." Destiny's final major content update, Moment of Triumph, was released on June 9th, bringing to end the game's 9-year run of content. Andy, you put it best in the Slack yesterday. Can you imagine traveling back in time 5 years and showing someone the headline, Bungie is laying off most of the Destiny team? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I think it says a lot for how desensitized we've become that Sony have gutted Blue Point and the Destiny team, like in the last 6 months, and more outrage is not, targeted at them.
Yeah,
because it's become such a common occurrence, right? I mean, that's all I can say, to be honest. Is desensitized, because I just find myself thinking like, sorry, go on, Alex.
Well, I was just going to say also, it's about, before we, obviously there's going to be stuff to talk about on both sides of the ball in this. Sony have, to some extent, got away with a pretty horrendous generation on this front by dint of how bad Xbox has been. In a world where Xbox had been even 25% less bad, they'd be in for a lot worse, right?
Yep.
Do you know what as well? Was you thinking the same as when I learned of this news coming a little bit before it happened? One of my immediate thoughts was, I wonder what Xbox is going to put out so that we forget about this.
Well, we'll get on to
what was it like an hour?
Yeah. Later that day when I heard that something was coming for Xbox, and I put in the Slack like battle stations that's about to happen, the three of us at the same time posted a version of couldn't let them have a day, couldn't let them have any bad day of PR.
That's the thing, is the Xbox are their own worst enemy, because like they couldn't. It's perception. We were talking about this last week when this big story was that Xbox were laying off loads of people and were thinking of closing down studios and stuff, and we were saying back then that the perception is a big part of this, that when Xbox does it, everyone gets absolutely tore into them as a disgrace because they've sold themselves as a personable company and all this kind of stuff. Whereas when Sony does these things, it's quite cold. And so you saw it literally yesterday. But anytime, like to Alex's point, anytime Sony does something that could be heavily criticised, Xbox is like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not. I mean, obviously, something to think about is, it is the last full week of the quarter.
Yes.
And so this is when the bad news comes out. For Microsoft in particular, this quarter is the end of their financial year. And I expect, we're recording this, right, in the morning Friday, but in the morning UK time. I expect we'll get some more crappy news here and there over the course of today, because people will want to get, a lot of people do bad news on a Friday, right? Because it gets buried.
Also, cynically, this has happened on the day GTA pre-orders open, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of the other Xbox stuff went out last week when the GTA pre-orders were announced.
Yeah,
there's stuff to say about Xbox.
I knew it was coming.
I don't want to make this Sony story about Xbox because we're going to have a whole section, right? I suppose, to talk about what they're doing.
We'll do that specifically next, but yes, on Sony specifically.
The Sony thing, it's just they've had such a horrendous generation for it, and I just think, how much was it? How many billion was it? 3 billion.
I can't remember exactly.
It was certainly multiples of billion, which is enough.
It's one of the worst. Well, one of the most backfiring bets we've had.
3.6
really.
but also it seemed 3.6 billion.
It seemed desperate at the time. I was speaking to Dringo about this the other day. Bungie were damaged goods when they were acquired, right? It felt like a bit of a baffling acquisition at the time. I mean, they'd come out of this relationship with Activision. Activision really, in a lot of ways, brute forced Destiny, right? The marketing was really, really good around Destiny. It never seemed quite sustainable for what it was, especially, I think the sequel, I mean, everything's easy in hindsight, right? I used to play Destiny godly amount of time. And like everyone I know dropped off, months into the sequel. It just didn't seem like a smart decision. That seemed like, I don't know if that was Activision driven or Bungie driven. But, a lot of people had left. There was all these stories about the work culture and how they were struggling to get things off the ground, et cetera, et cetera. So I question whether it was a smart acquisition in the first place. I mean, certainly you'd say probably not, looking at their live service push, right? That was almost certainly the motivation behind getting them, is that, they can help us get The Last of Us and Concord and all the rest of it, up and running, which has been one of the famous blunders of the modern era. It's just super sad, right? That for a developer this storied with this much history to go. I mean, this is a crap analogy, but the marathon team, like they've all It reminded you like when they offer, we had Future Publishing had a Gorka license like about 10 years ago, and they said to me, "Do you want to go and work on Kotaku UK? We're going to launch Kotaku UK." I was like, "No." And they like laid me off like a month later. It's like I should have gone to the Marathon team, not kids who took over Kotaku and ended up doing a really good job. But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think it's a deeply embarrassing story and a generation full of embarrassments for Sony that, as we've mentioned multiple times, gets totally buried by the fact that they've had no competition, their consoles sold very well, and they've put out enough games that kind of steal all the conversation. Like as we move to the next stage of this generation, maybe rather than the next generation specifically, they're going to realign on just big single player games. So now that they're doing that, the idea of having a Bungie around makes no sense for them when that money can go to other big single player studio. And if Bungie have nothing spun up, like they're incubating games that wouldn't come out for 3 or 4 years at this point. So like a full Bungie closure would be heartbreaking, but not surprising in the least at this point, in my opinion.
Well, this was going to be my question: is if Destiny 2 was considered enough of a disappointment that this is the end result, how long does Marathon get from this point? That's my concern now, but what we've already lost is terrible in terms of it's not.
I mean, I imagine Marathon's a lot cheaper, right?
Yeah, I suppose, but it's not just about Destiny closing, right? It's about all the lost expertise. All these people some of them will exit the industry completely. The lineage of Destiny. Destiny is a studio that definitely once, and some would argue twice, although I do take your point about brute force a little bit, Andy. But definitely once, you could argue twice, sort of had their finger on the pulse of what the next big thing was going to be. And so you would have 10 years ago, you would have bet on them to do it again. It's very sad.
I think Activision seem. I mean, it is all external, so this is conjecture for the most part. But Activision seem to be trying to turn them into this content machine that they're used to having with Call of Duty, right? And they were committing to like annual expansions and stuff like that, and it just wasn't sustainable. Some of them were, quite underwhelming. It really did become diminishing returns from the player base, and frustration, kind of built up there. And then obviously they have to make the hard decisions, the really unpopular hard decisions where they were vaulting, old content, like expansions that you had before. You couldn't actually play them anymore. They'd vault the content. And it's kind of turned into something that it wasn't at the start.
Yeah.
Destiny. The thing for me was like, obviously they had to make Destiny 2, but I wonder if they just not called it Destiny 2. And I know that was an Activision call. Like they had to move away from the first generation of Destiny stuff for tech reasons, but if that second Destiny game was just Destiny and it just ran forever, like that might have been the thing. But yeah, the thing with Destiny is I know a lot of people that played it really religiously, but I don't remember any point where they were very happy with their Destiny. They were like, yeah, this is kind of what we play. It's a bit like me and Chris with FC. Like we play it religiously, but we're never in a point where we're like, yeah, FC's in a good place right now. It's just like, well, this is the game we play. But even my cousin has a Destiny clan. They were obsessed with it. He's an older guy. He's got 2 kids, a family, like super busy. The only game he plays is Destiny. They've all chucked it and they moved to Marathon, and they're like, yeah, this is kind of what we want. Like it's the same shooting. It's like it's pretty good. But to your point, Alex, like how long does Marathon get? Like I know people that James for your neck of the woods, Alex, RPG site, he's constantly posting about Marathon and like the end game stuff. But like, what is the like if those people are happy, that's great, but how many of those people exist, and is that enough to keep it going?
Yeah, he loves it, but also he's the sort of person that's doing like the highest end savage raids in Final Fantasy 14, right? And it's like that's a limited audience because you've got to be a real sicko to do all that stuff. But the thing is, for an MMO, it's okay if that particular audience is quite small because they're all paying every month, but 2, there's also a lot more casual people who are mostly playing dress up and doing the social aspect of it, which isn't really a thing so much in a game like Marathon. It exists a little bit. I don't know. I worry.
I also really feel for the Bungie staff who are let go, because obviously you do in any of these situations, but when something like this happens, you take some comfort in people defending you and feeling bad for you and all that kind of stuff. And like, so when this news was announced, people were reaching for the pitchforks, and before they even managed to unlock the shed, the Xbox news broke, and then everyone just turned to that. And I got to feel, I imagine if I was at Bungie and I'd just been let go, and I was waiting for people to say, "Oh, mate, I'm sorry about that. This is a disgrace," blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly everyone's turned their focus to something else. A lot of them are probably sitting there going, "Wait a minute here.
Yeah.
Like, I do have a job now and you're all moaning about this Xbox being like more expensive." Like, it's difficult to, the way the gaming community narrative works is usually difficult to have two things being juggled at the same time. Everyone get 6-7.
Thank you.
Thanks. But yeah, it's not. Yeah, fun times.
That's actually, I was going to say that as well, Chris. The Xbox news is 1% as bad as the Bungie news, but it doesn't matter to the Twitter.
It's the latest thing. It's the latest one.
Yeah. I actually think that
the Xbox news affects people directly.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a nebulous thing. I actually think that Sony put that out because they thought Xbox would bury it with the really bad news, and then this console thing came in and like took it off quicker than they expected.
I don't buy into that sort of conspiracy stuff. I think it's the end of the quarter. The news has to get dumped out at some point. The idea that they did it on GTA pre-order day, I buy that, but I don't think Sony are sitting around going, right, when do we put out our bad news? When do we think Microsoft's going to put out their bad news?
You've got your wiggle room, right? Like, we need to put it out this week. We need to let our employees know. Do you put it on GTA pre-order day, or do you not? I don't think there's anyone sat there going, what are Microsoft going to do? It's like,
exactly.
Yeah. We're well past that.
I suppose they don't need to consider what Microsoft are going to do. They just know that Microsoft are going to be like, don't worry, lads, we'll clean this up for you. No matter what we do, we'll clean this up for you. Any more thoughts from anyone before we move on from this? I think that as I said, I think the next Bungie story, I don't expect it to be Bungie has this new amazing game. The wrinkle here that got chopped off of my story here is that the big boss over there, the studio head, has apparently departed, according to Bloomberg. Justin Truman, who succeeded Pete Parsons just last year, is apparently stepping down. This does not seem like a studio that is ready to let's get a new game on the go. Like, I see these people being dispersed among Sony, and then that's it.
As far as the Bloomberg report was going as well, like the reason for this is they were announcing this a month ago before this actually was confirmed, was that Destiny 2's last content was coming and there were no plans for a Destiny 3, so that entire team were just about to basically close the door on something, and they had nothing.
So even if you're working on something new, right, you don't need all of those people to sit there burning cash. I mean, it was always going to happen, especially if you don't have anything off the ground, you're going in pre-production, you only need a small portion of that team. Yeah. The rest of the team are not going to have anything to do, basically.
Yeah, Destiny 3 should have been in the works for a year or two by now to have kept most of those people on at this point. But
I want to know, when I see the big people leave, though, in a circumstance like this, I want to know what the earn-out is on people like that. Like, how much are you taking away from this disaster? Because they always are.
Allegedly, the top team took tens of millions. Initially from the sale.
Well, initially, but it's like, this guy, for instance, who came in a year ago, at that level, there will have been some sort of earn-out structure or some sort of, did he get it? Did he not? Like, when loads of people are losing their jobs? I digress. I don't want to pick on people, but yeah.
Scumbags,
it's a common theme when you look at Xbox as well, is that you look at the teams who are not working on anything, right? They're the ones who are the target.
Yeah.
Oh, if you've just shipped. Yeah. And also, you got to, and no one, I've not seen anyone mention this, but you've got to feel particularly bad for the people at Bungie that are on that, because I've seen some people say, well, how comes they don't have Destiny 3 lined up? Well, where is this? They had another game lined up, right? That Fortnite style. I can't remember what it's described as. That live. They've had another thing. Sony spun it off into a separate company. So they had a game in pre-production that seemed like about now would be ready to go.
That's right.
Yeah, I've heard one or two things about some of the stuff that is the stuff that Sony's referring to in the incubation, and I think it'll be interesting to see which of those projects go any further, go the distance, and which don't. And
I mean, Microsoft are chucking money into Halo now, right? As much as they're they're I don't think they're going to be spending any less money. They're cutting people, making, getting rid of the stuff that's not working for them. I mean, we'll get to this, but Halo is something they're going to spend money on. They've said that publicly, right? They need to invest in their biggest franchises. So all of these people being, cut by Sony would have a lot of value for Microsoft. In a different world, you put them to work on a big franchise shooter.
Yeah, just are they in a position to hire? Which is what we'll get into.
Well, story number 2. Microsoft is raising the price of Xbox consoles by $100 to $150. Starting August 1st, 2026, the cheapest Series X 1TB model without a disk drive will retail for $749.99 in the US, while the disk drive model will retail for $799.99. The cheapest 512 Xbox Series S model will now cost $499 US, with the 1TB model going to $599. Microsoft have raised the price of its Xbox consoles twice in the last year. The latest rise means that an Xbox Series X disc drive model now costs $300 more than it did at launch in 2020. Jesus Christ. While the Series S is now 50% more expensive. In a statement, Xbox blamed the price increase on, quote, the current component crisis impacting the consumer electronics industry, which has seen all 3 major console manufacturers raise prices significantly. Here's the longer quote. We hoped another price increase would not be necessary, and we have spent the last several months working with suppliers on options. One of the options was maybe not give away 1,000 free green Xboxes, but who can say? The company said that unfortunately console storage and memory prices have increased more than 2.5x, and we expect another doubling by the fall of 2027. The other wrinkle here is that they've discontinued the 2 terabyte Series X, lest they charge £9 billion for it.
Well, I suppose the good news is at least this suggests they're going to carry on making consoles.
Well, yeah, got to make money somehow when we get to £1,000 Series S's. Alex Donaldson, the Series S, the daft wee toy console that has hamstrung them this generation, which was meant to be 20 quid, is now more expensive than the proper console was at launch. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's the same price as the PS5 at launch, which is bonkers. What I will say is I saw someone say on social media, like, all the people who said Phil Spencer was a man of the people and the Series S was the affordable way to get in. What do you think now? And it's like, hey, listen, don't be a dipshit. At launch, it was a really affordable way to get in. You just wanted to play FIFA and COD and weren't that bothered about, it looking absolutely pristine. It was a great way to get in. If you had kids and you wanted to, I always used to make the argument of like, if you got Spyro and Crash and stuff in Game Pass, Microsoft are always pretty good about Gabby's Dollhouse game and Peppa Pig games and Bluey games and stuff in Game Pass. A Series S in Game Pass was like the cheapest way to get a little one into games, cheaper than buying a Switch where, you've got to buy carts. But it's very easy to get mad at the price rises and the executives who signed off on them. But really, these are just a symptom of how the whole tech economy is completely and totally fucked.
This is how it is.
So if we read it out, right? So if we just in broader context, on the same day, iPads went up by $100, iPad Minis went up by $100, iPad Airs went up by $250, iPad Pros went up by $300, HomePods went up by $50, MacBook Neos went up by $100. The Vision Pro, the headset, went up by $300. The MacBook Air, the 13-inch one, went up by almost $800 on the top spec.
Oh, brilliant. Good. Good.
And if the MacBook Pro, the highest spec MacBook Pro, went up by $2,800. It's absolutely buggered. And so there's that on one hand. And it's like, so on one hand, when people are screaming and going, Xbox is evil, I'm like, this is part of a wider macroeconomic thing. However, guy in a hot dog, in a hot dog costume saying, we're going to find the guys who did this. Microsoft is one of the top 4 spenders in AI, which is causing this problem. So we cannot forget or eliminate that. But my big thing is, when I was looking at this, I was like, this new era of Xbox is increasingly feeling defined for me by a feeling of whiplash. And you sort of touched on it, Jordan. So it's like, we had champagne receptions and influencer bribes, giveaways, in venues that cost six figures to rent.
Or two Xbox Series X's.
Followed literally 3 days later by a grim all-hands email saying, we can't afford all this, we've got to do loads of cuts. And listen, I'm not naive. I understand that all the money they spent on the Academy Museum and all that sort of stuff and all those activations at SGF, all that money wouldn't be a huge dent, right? If you took the budget from that and applied it to jobs, it would have saved a few jobs, but it's not a big deal. But it's the projection versus the reality, and same here. We've got Asher Sharma saying, gaming has become unaffordable and we need to fix that. We need to think about ways in which we're going to make gaming more affordable, immediately followed by eye-watering price hikes. And some of that can't be helped because the rises, like I said, feel inevitable because of where the market's at. But by doing this weird thing of projecting return of Xbox, everything's great, everything's brilliant, and then making these bad moves, difficult, whatever you want to call them, it makes this stuff look worse, Whereas if you just keep your mouth shut, we're back on Xbox talks too much. If you just keep your mouth shut, 100%. Sony isn't going, everything's brilliant, PlayStation, we're having the best time ever, and then cutting Bungie. They're just sort of quiet.
I had this conversation with Chris yesterday where I said, kind of what I said at the top about how, Sony have gutted, Destiny and Bluepoint in 6 months. And it's like, well, why are they not? I feel like there should be more outrage around this. And the reason there's more outrage around Xbox is because of the whiplash, as you said. It's because this is happening. It happened, the news of the closures and stuff happened a week after we're at the big champagne reception, and they're showing us games that they seemingly know full well will be cancelled and the team shuttered. And it just makes them look like duplicitous, right? It makes them look like they are, they're not being truthful. Which clearly they're not, and that makes it worse. And they feed the news cycle because they're constantly in the news. I mean, Asha Sharma has been in the job for 100 days. I think we've barely gone a week when she's not, held an interview or sent out an internal memo that leaks, to select press. And you just don't hear this from PlayStation. So when they make an equally, grim decision, right? When you're closing Bluepoint, that was forgot about pretty quickly, right? Because they're just not. It's just as cynical as that sounds. They're out of the news cycle. Their executives are never in the news cycle. But to bring it, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I don't blame them for doing. It's like the idea of the big reception.
No, because if your whole thing is going to be the parasocial relationship, is going to be their fan base and stuff like that, right? I mean, this starts back in the Xbox One days, right? Is they've doubled down and they've created the siege mentality of right, let's kind of keep our base and our hardcore and play into that. And that will get us through, this gen until we're better positioned to challenge, right? And now they're in this they are whiplashing all over the place, right? They're going to be a platform, they're not going to be a platform, and the having to speak all the time is part of that. It's like, well, if you're going to play into this fan base, you need to have the fan fest and you need to be visible and you need to be speaking, but also that's not helpful in other ways. I guarantee there's some PR people back there, or there were, saying, don't do this. I know for a long while they stopped Phil Spencer's, kind of doing press and stuff. Stop doing it. Stop speaking to press.
I will say, it's not like it started completely with Xbox One. I mean, I was in the room when they gave everyone Xbox 360S E3 one year.
Now on patreon.com/Radio Games Chronicle if you want to go and relive that E3.
And very similarly, time is a flat circle, right? Because I think I've said on one of these pods before, I saw people literally weeping in the audience of that because I was there at the fact that they were getting a free Xbox. But the big difference was in its perception, right? In that time, Xbox was killing it. They were ripping huge market share chunks from Sony. Sony was in a bit of a mess, and Nintendo, was that towards the end of the Wii maybe? So Wii U was on the horizon. I don't know. But anyway, it was a victory thing. Whereas, it's not just about the giveaway or whatever, because who cares? It's $500. Like I say, it's not not anymore. It's how much?
$800, mate.
But I'm more about, you go to that Grammy Museum thing, and I think it's great. Companies should have big events and sort of give us an opportunity
100%. It was really good.
To go up and have a casual chat with some of these guys who are in senior positions. It's a really good thing to do, both for our more traditional media side and perhaps for the more influencer guys. However, it's sort of that sense of scale. I think I saw one of the American guys, it might have been Totillo, it might have been Aftermath, someone like that. Specifically, they referred to the number of smiling faces, so not Xbox employees, but like the people who were working the event, who were all there to reassure you that the brand is great and everything is fine, and then everything is not fine. And like I say, it's whiplash, it's back and forth. It's seeing Hellblade or Senua at Hellblade 3 and going, oh, wow, okay, neat. And then the whiplash of finding out they literally put it in the showcase as like a estate sale.
Yeah, 2 for £1. Chris, your thoughts on this?
This is what we were. It just goes back to what we were saying last week, where by adding a personality to these things, the impact is greater. Like if you lose your wallet when you're out in the street and you later find out that your card has been used for £1,000 worth of gambling website stuff, you'd be gutted. But if your brother stole your wallet and spent £1,000 on gambling, you feel even worse. Is that by adding all this, we're your mates, we love you guys, thanks for being there with Xbox, we care about you, blah 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 blah. Then when they do something like this, people take it harder because like, I thought you loved me, I thought you cared about me, why would you do this to me? But I was sorry, it's just like, listen, this is business. Like if you want a PlayStation, here's how much it costs. Next week it's going to cost more. That's just the way it is. If people don't go, but Mark Cerny, you told me you were your mate. You were cradling my head last week. It's just, it is what it is. And people just go on with it and they complain for a wee while and then they move on to the next thing. Whereas with Xbox, a lot of them take these things as personal slights and personal attacks against them because you promised me you would never do this to me, and what have you done? So, yeah, like we always say, they talk too much. And
you're saying bring Jim Ryan back? I agree.
I'm saying bring back Reggie.
I genuinely would love to see like a professional, like high tier, like sociologist or someone study this and explain.
I'll do it.
The difference in, because I actually think the difference in the online response between the Xbox price increase and the PlayStation and Sony ones, the PlayStation and Nintendo ones, and even the Apple ones, which occurred on the same day, the reactions were just markedly different. And you can see in those reactions how some of the Xbox influencer people feel that Xbox gets the short shrift, gets rough treatment, because compared to the response to Sony, it was way more aggressive. But it is just, I don't know. It's a weird situation they find themselves in. But more than anything, between this, the Apple increases, Valve straight up saying literally like, yeah, the Steam machine would have been nearer to like $700, but it's just not possible anymore. Like all these things compound. Actually, I was thinking the other day, it's like a lot of people have been saying, will the next gen be $1,000? I'm starting to think, will this gen hit $1,000?
Shortly? I've no doubt about it.
Which is pretty scary to think about.
Yeah, I've got no doubt about it. It's weird, like obviously we were all saying this in Slack yesterday as well. I was like, let's not be under the impression that this is the last price increase we're going to see from anyone. Like Sony will be next, Nintendo will only be able to hold out for so long, and this will just keep continuing through the generation. Microsoft themselves say they think memory prices are going to double 2.5 times again by this time next year, so it's going to keep happening.
I think that's why this is so aggressive as well, because you look at this and this is a much larger price increase across the board than the PlayStation 1 was. And I think Microsoft is maybe hoping that if they do a bigger one now, they might get away with not having to do another one in a bit.
For a while,
which is a wise decision, to be fair, because whereas Sony, they raised by 100 and they're probably going to have to do another 50 or another 100 again in 6 months.
We are now at the stage where the Series S costs the same as the Switch 2. As it stands, and in that sense that basically kills the Series S, because unless you want GTA for cheap, which is really the only reason to get a Series S now, or Game Pass, because Switch 2's got DLSS, games invariably look better than Series S. And so go
out and buy your tech all you can before it gets increased in price.
It's just dreadful. Like I haven't upgraded my phone in 2 years, and I'm waiting for August. Obviously, Google always do their new phones. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get a Pixel 11. I dread to think what a Pixel 11 XL is going to cost. $2,000, $2,500.
Before we go to the break, Scullion, the floor is yours.
What we have been discussing the increases in prices, and we understand that, like we say, will this generation actually break $1,000 at some point? I believe it will at some point, and there comes a point in time where you have to prepare for the future, which is why yesterday I noticed that Amazon was selling a PlayStation 5 Pro for £704, down from its usual £780, £790. So I decided to future-proof this generation, fully in the knowledge that this generation will probably last a few more years now, and purchased a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Yeah.
I should stress. I do not feel it's the best deal in gaming, contrary to what the follically challenged John Merrill is about to suggest. I don't believe it's the best
context.
deal.
We've basically been like rowing with him to get a PS5 Pro. For several years.
Just to stress,
I would never pay the money.
Just to
it's
stress,
too expensive.
It is, and I maintain it is. I also note that this generation is not going to end next year. No, and again, I also want to point out.
No.
And for the record, I still believe that Xbox is a better ecosystem. I still believe the Play Anywhere scheme, in which you start a game on Xbox, can continue on PC, can move on to your ROG Ally and continue to play it there, is the best way to play games. But at the same time, if the arse falls out my PS5, which is now 6 years old, next year, it's going to be the Pro I would be getting. So I might as well get it now while it's literally 4 points. No. So I'm going to keep my 5 and take it upstairs to my games room for disc drive based games for now. And then we'll see what happens. But it's just it's a grudging purchase. I've never been so miserable buying a console, and I certainly still don't believe it's the best value in gaming, because you should be feeling joyful when you get value for money, and I certainly don't feel that. I feel like I've been hoodwinked. But,
Chris Scullion, 60 seconds on the clock, please.
That was my 60 seconds.
No, my 60 seconds. Thank you.
Oh, here we go.
The Brotherhood of the Best Deal in Gaming welcomes its latest brother. While the road to our flock was fraught with misinformation and doubt, Brother Scullion is welcome within our ranks. In an age where people can be so hesitant to admit fault, it's admirable that Brother Scullion was so willing to come to the light of the best deal in gaming. He'll now be able to enjoy benefits such as 60 frames per second set pieces on FC and others. I invite the whole congregation to welcome Brother Scullion to our ranks. He's one of our own. Now we move forward together under the professional banner.
They say the ocean tastes like tears.
God bless us. Come on. Bosh!
I should stress that I didn't admit any wrongdoing at any point. So
I'll stick to my PC and my 5090, thanks.
That's another reason why I don't know why the hell I did it. That's another reason why I don't know why I did it. I've got a PC sitting here. Why?
Not playing GTA on it, are you?
Yeah,
that is the problem.
Not yet.
I'm currently
get better.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this a lot because I don't know where I want to play GTA, because Xbox is definitely.
Have you not got a Pro?
No, I've got a Pro.
It's the best place to play.
Xbox is a lot more convenient for me, but obviously because I've got more than one Series X and stuff.
Like now that they've kind of sorted, they've kind of like the PSSR2 and
it's going to be better.
That's another thing.
Training wheels are
that stuff's
like
fixed now.
The third party stuff is genuinely really good on Pro now. Initially it was the biggest waste of money I ever spent.
I just usually buy third party games if I'm not playing them on PC on Xbox, because it's easier for the reasons Chris mentioned of all the play anywhere and all that sort of crap and transferring your saves. And also I've got more than one Xbox, so I can play in different rooms of the house easily without moving it around.
That's my thing. Like if we get another situation like a Forza situation again, where the choice is get the PS5 version or the Xbox version, I will still probably go Xbox, because during my review period of Forza, at night I would play it on the Xbox on the telly, just kind of going through the races and going through it. During the day I'd switch to the PC version, and the save just copies over, and because the higher resolution, I was using that for capturing screenshots and the guides and that, because it was like the best quality picture. When I went to Japan, like the week after it came out, obviously that's when the live service stuff started, so I brought my ROG Ally with me and was sitting in the hotel, like continuing to play it through that. That's something that you just can't get elsewhere, so I'll maintain that's still the best way of doing it.
You are literally Phil Spencer's wet dream, but you thought there were a lot more of you than there are.
Except, but also purchasing a PS5 Pro.
Well, yeah.
At the same time, but yeah.
Congratulations. Anyway, we're going to go for a break because I simply cannot get harder. We'll be back with GTA and a little bit more after this. And we are back. Rockstar, you may have heard of them, confirms there will be no disc version of GTA 6 at launch. The news was confirmed on Wednesday alongside the details of the game's standard and ultimate editions, which go up for pre-order June 25th. That was yesterday. According to Rockstar, those who pre-order GTA 6 will be able to preload its content on November 12th for the November 19th release date. That also means if you buy the code in a box version, it will be shipped to you on November 12th, and presumably that means that the code in a box version will be in shops on November 12th. I can't imagine that will cause any confusion whatsoever. According to ppe.pl, which is a Polish site that claimed that GTA 6 would likely get a physical release later on, they say that a disc version is going to come out in December. Andy, this is probably a move to stop the first videos of this game being on someone's dodgy TikTok live stream when they steal a copy from their work. Am I wrong?
Oh, undoubtedly, that's part of it. I mean, it's three-pronged, I think, for Rockstar. One is the obviously the spoilers, which they're super, super serious about. I don't think there's anyone more serious than Rockstar about that. I've had Take-Two lawyers phone me up from New York, in the past about things in stories and stuff like that. Like they do not mess around. But also, but behind that, it's they don't have to pay the cut, for the. I don't know how much they actually save, to be fair, by doing code in a box. You'd think a bit, but it also that pushes people towards the digital version, right? Yeah. It's no like how Pocopia, barely shipped any. Their game key card and then barely shipped any. Probably going to be a similar situation. It also means they can work on the game right up to the last minute. They don't have to have that disc version to stick on there. They can patch and not worry about it. So yeah, there's plenty of incentive to do this. But I spoke to Matt Piscatella about this. Actually, it would have been prudent of me to pull his quote up. But he said that in one respect, this could be considered a good thing for retailers. In the US at the end of May 2026, 52% of Xbox Series and 27% of PS5 consoles sold do not include a disc drive. Digital-only PlayStation and Xbox consoles have grown in popularity over time as well. So code in a box does allow retailers to have a bigger addressable market than if the game only includes the disc. But ultimately, I don't think it matters all that much either way. Both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series are heavily weighted towards digital distribution at this point. Xbox Series more so than PS5. With the shift towards digital continue to grow over time, I see this as just another step in a trend that has been ongoing since the early 2010s.
Today, I feel game retailer. I would have bought the physical version of GTA because I have all of them and I like the big map. I think Rockstar does nice physical versions. I'm sure they will eventually do that, but similarly, they don't want the map, the first picture of the map being someone using it using it as a roach in one of their hashish cigarettes. So I understand why they've done this. Chris, what are your thoughts on this? Again, I feel like we've been saying something similar for a long time. I thought it would be a case of you have the disc, but on launch day we'll release a 10 megabyte patch that actually unlocks it. That's
what I was expecting, but again, the more I look into it, I should stress, I don't know the ins and outs of this because I'm not in the habit of pirating like current gen games, right? But as I understand it, the way people pirate data mine games, console games just now, is you have a modded PS5 and you either data mine the game that you have bought and installed on your console, like an installed game, or you data mine the contents of the disc itself. So as I understand it, if GTA had released on a disc, then people could have ripped the contents from that disc using a modded PS5 and shared all the stuff online before the game came out. Mm-hmm. or if you're data mining from an install, the game has to be out. You need to have bought it from that console, and you can't buy games from a modded PS5. So there was no way for anyone to pre-order it through the store, and therefore the only way they would have been able to do it is from a disc. So that's my guess, is one of the reasons they've done this, is that it can't be very easily data mined if there's no disc, because people with modded consoles can't just download the digital version of the game. Other than that, all the points Andy says, they don't need to worry about a disc version being a month or a month and a half old, and somebody taking that disc, not downloading the patch, playing that disc and finding weird bugs from a couple of months ago that are weird looking. So it's really just like controlling the content.
The benefits are a big incentive for them.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, the positive and the negatives, I mean, they're going to annoy some people, but on the plus side, there's so much on this, and they're so controlling, Rockstar. They will want to control everything. And that risk of disc versions getting out, which they will, right? And the bounty on them would be humongous, right? People would make so much money. They would be incentivized to get these disc versions out into the wild. They don't want the first footage of this thing to be potato cam and people breaking it, broken pre-patch version and all the rest of it. They want it to be controlled and put out how they want it to be seen.
By the way, can we talk about, to what you just said, we just briefly touch on pre-order campaign open, probably very, very successful already. I'm sure in the next few weeks we might get some figures off people like Matt or Chris or whoever. But without a single second of gameplay being shown. It's incredible. It's
Come on now.
I mean, no, very few other people. I was thinking about, could anyone else do this? And I was like, maybe Nintendo could do it with a Zelda game. Maybe. But like, it's astonishing. And I will say, as far as the rest goes, all the reasons you guys have said, you've covered it all. For me, the more interesting thing about this, I think, is two things. One, I think there will inevitably be a version that's got everything on it. That's already been something that some leakers or whatever are suggesting is the case, but we don't know for sure. But it wouldn't surprise me if by April, May, June next year, there is a version that's a disc in a box to make stuff easier. And after they've sold through their initial millions and millions, they don't mind losing the 3p on the copy to print a disc. But also, I just think there's been this futile war. And I was saying to John from Digital Foundry, like he's one of those people who's very much physical games. And I was like, it's over. The war is lost, mate. Like, there will still be people putting out physical games, but it's going to become a similar market to vinyl records. They're a specific thing for a specific small addressable audience of nerds who want it for collection purposes or purity purposes or whatever else. But anyone who was on the fence now is going to be able to point to GTA and go, clearly it doesn't really matter because the most successful game of all time. Similarly, I think I have felt ever since they announced the Pokopia game keycard thing, I thought to myself, they have done that for two reasons. One, leaks and data mined. TPC famously
exactly the same
them.
Reasons, by the way.
Yeah, but two, I think this one's a bit different. I think Nintendo needed a nice, juicy first-party game to legitimize game keycards and make 100%. Them not an evil thing that third parties do. And they did it, and it worked. And they can now, and they're clearly making their calls. Like Star Fox, you don't do that as a game keycard because a huge part of that game's addressable audience is people in their 40s who are like, I want a physical card. But will Animal Crossing, for instance, will the next Animal Crossing be a game keycard? I bet it will.
Like, it's been a weird one because I get the people who want it on a physical cartridge because the game runs from the cartridge, right? But the people who want a disc, I understand liking the tactility of having a physical thing that you can look at and say, this is my thing. But since the last generation, these discs don't do anything other than install data over. Nothing's run from the disc. I get it, it's got the content on there, but invariably you're now downloading the patch or downloading the rest of the game. And at that point, it's like, people use the preservation argument. I think GTA 6 will be fine. Like, I'm sure it'll be okay.
There is an argument for GTA is the sort of game where maybe there's something offensive in it, maybe there's something that the news takes issue with, and they patch stuff and change stuff and chill stuff out. Like, my preservation argument is, if you want for some insane reason, you can still go and get a Cyberpunk disc, put it into a PlayStation that's offline, and play the 1.0 absolutely shagged version of Cyberpunk. Or similarly, like a developer that famously works up until the last minute, From Software, Elden Ring, where literally I wrote guides for Elden Ring in the review period that were irrelevant by the time the game came out because they changed the flow of quests and they'd removed moves and bosses and all sorts of stuff like that. And again, you can buy an Elden Ring disc and put it in and play Elden Ring 1.0 and see the differences. Whereas if you have a game that's delivered only digitally, that actually becomes, it's like Andy mentioned, Bungie vaulting Destiny content. That stuff actually disappears apart from in the form of YouTube videos, and that's quite sad.
I take that point, but at the same time, and again, this is getting into the darker side of things here, someone will rip that game when it comes out, and that day one, day one version will be quote unquote preserved, and maybe not immediately accessible, but maybe 20 years down the line, when the PS5 is a dead console and people are then hacking it, then people could maybe then.
Yeah, you're right.
I do take the point though. I do think it's really important to make sure these versions of things are preserved along the way. But I do also believe that people who desperately want the disc versions aren't doing it because they want version 1.0. They're doing it because in their head having the disc means that content will never disappear. The game will never disappear and they'll always have access to it. Whereas all GTA, all Rockstar needs to do is do a always online check, and then that disc is kind of gubbed.
Well, but that's another thing that many would argue is a problem. But I just think we're at the point now. It's like, remember when Half-Life 2 came out, right? And what was that? 2004, and that was a disc in a box, but you had to put the CD key into Steam and validate online, and that caused a lot of problem. And then you fast forward 5 years from that, and slowly but surely, like, you get to a point where Total War stops putting discs in and you've just got a Steam key. And that's where we're at with consoles now. We've finally crossed that Rubicon. And if you want to know where consoles are going to be in 10 years, just look at where PC is. You cannot buy a new game on a disc. You get weird outliers where Microsoft did a version of Flight Simulator, right? Didn't they? Where it was like 40 discs or something as like a fun limited
a joke,
run
basically.
Thing. Yeah. But that's, so it's sad, and some people, probably someone in the comments will say, by admitting defeat, I'm complicit in taking autonomy from people in how they play their games. But I do just think it's over.
Yeah, I don't think we've had that autonomy for a long time.
Well, before we get out of here, two things. First of all, Andy, you put up a Star Fox review very briefly. What did you think of it?
It's really good. It's beautiful. It sounds amazing. It's already a very cinematic game, but like the cutscenes and stuff they put in have really elevated that. There's lots of little details that annoy me about it that give me pause for thought. That actually maybe in a lot of ways I prefer the original game. I think Alex agrees.
Yeah, I mean, but
he's still really, really good.
I mean, full disclosure, I would put Star Fox 64 in like my top 5 games of all time. I think it's one of those few games that is perilously close to perfect. But because it's short and sweet, it's not easy, but it's easier to get to perfection if something is small, because there's less to tweak around the edges. And they do. It's better in some ways. It's worse in some ways. I think there's some really interesting small things. It's like scoring is definitely easier, but it's not because they've turned down the difficulty or anything like that. They've just made a handful of very subtle tweaks to make it easier, which is interesting because it's like, is that the template for how Nintendo's going to redo old games? Where what they've done is the tweaks they've made are so minor that 99% of people are not actually going to notice that it's been tweaked. They're going to think that the difficulty is the same. But everyone's going to be posting higher scores. Getting medals is easier, which is what they like. They want people to see the content. The voice acting is more anime, I guess I would say. And I hate using the word anime as a pejorative, but there we go. But it's
the voice acting and some of the cutscene stuff, and like there's just lots of little details that scream to me that the original. I mean, and Imamura, who famously retired from Nintendo 5 years ago, is the art director. But we went to dinner a couple of years ago, and he told me that he was basically the director. He ended up doing like being very hands-on with that project. And this, to me, there's lots of these little details scream that they didn't have the input from the person who made it. You know, you go, no, the reason we did this was that because there's lots of changes that just completely change the tension of a scene or the tone of a scene.
Can I do my really nerdy example that I texted to you?
Yes, your ones are very, very good, yeah.
So when you have the tank level, and on that level, the train tank level, Macbeth, there's a sub-objective in that level where you can just defeat the boss, or you can hit 8 switches, and then that changes the train track and basically gets the guy to derail. It sends him into the factory, and the factory blows up. In the N64 version, you hit that last switch, the game takes control off you, and you watch a cutscene of the train going towards, and it's smashing through stuff on the way, and the boss is going, no, hit the brakes! And he's screaming about how he can't stop the train, and then he slams into the building, and the boss is inside this flying thing that's attached to the train, like a kite. And so the train goes into the building, and then his finger's dragged into the building, the wings get ripped off, and it falls to the ground, and that's when it comes up, hit plus 50. So that's the moment you kill him. And it's like this hugely cinematic moment. The voice acting plays into it as well. But I really want to zero in on that hit plus 50, the moment you get the 50 points. Because in the Switch 2 version, the 50 points gets awarded to you when you hit the switch. So you hit the switch and it says hit plus 50, and then it goes into the cutscene. And you watch what is essentially the same thing, but done in a more modern way. But it's that weird thing of the tiny detail of by moving that UI prompt of hit plus 50, that impact of you watching the final blow go in, and that being what triggers your score, is gone. And as a result, the entire scene is just a little bit damper, a little bit wetter, a little bit weaker.
That's consistent throughout all of it, right? There's like the Independence Day level, the tension of the mothership going, like, is gone. The solar, the fire level, like, you know, with the alarm, where you get really loud alarm in the N64 original, isn't it? As you're taking damage, like, whoop, 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 like that's sort of very much dampened. The boss that fakes out, like, oh, I surrender. Like the tone of the delivery of the voice acting it was played for comedy in the original. So it was like, it was a moment. Whereas this, it's like, he does it deadpan. And you're like, oh, what's happening? Like, you kind of like don't even like see that coming. So it's just lots of little things that ultimately don't spoil the experience.
No.
But if you really love that original game, it kind of gives you pause for thought, right?
The movie references are less. So like you mentioned Independence Day, towards the end of the game, there's a great Return of the Jedi reference that is still there, but really, really softened. And actually, you know, this is talking about the credits of the game, right? So I guess if you feel hypersensitive, we could say spoilers for the next minute. But, you know, it's not a big deal because it's something that especially if you've seen the old game. But obviously there's that iconic shot at the end of the game during the credits. And that is a shot that was so iconic that they recreated it, crossed over with F-Zero in the intro to Smash Bros. Melee. And then they recreated it shot for shot in Star Fox Zero. And the music is timed with that shot as well, the credit music, very, very carefully. And that shot is literally not in the credits of this game. And as the credits started to roll, I literally thought to myself, when they get to that shot, I am going to cry. And then it wasn't in the game. And I was like, oh. Well, then I cried for a different reason. But yeah, so it's full of stuff like that. But the thing is, the core game is so good, you can't hold it down. And it is now the best way to play that game.
This is very nitpicky. I just want to say another bit on that, actually. Obviously, when we review these games, it's in isolation, right? So you're picking up stuff like this, but you don't actually know whether it's just you being nitpicky, right, or whether other people know. It's because it was the hit flashes, the other thing that, the other tiny like grievance I had. Like if I was going to be overly negative, so and a lot of the bosses, I didn't know whether I was hitting the right spot because it looks so beautiful now, and they've obviously gone for they don't want to spoil that by having big flashy like hit flashes. Everything that you just said it's all on social media now. Like I was going to send it to you last night. It's like that. There's clips of that particular train boss you're talking about. People saying exactly the same thing. So we're not mad. We're not crazy. But it's very, 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 very good. This is like proper high level Star Fox 64 nerd dissection.
Good.
It's a super, super cool remake, which I loved playing.
And I can't wait to see where the series goes because I think it's clear from this there's going to be more of it. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think the natural thing to do. So, I mean, what I would like to see off the back of this is basically them to do a rebooty remake of Star Fox Adventures. So take the concepts, take the dinosaur planet, take Crystal, take the memorable scenes, but put in more of the dogfighting in between rather than just using it as a glorified loading screen. And try to build a game that is maybe 30% traditional Star Fox rail shooting and 70% a weird Zelda alike or something. And maybe give him his gun, because it was always weird to me that in that game that he's got a gun on his holster and he never takes it out.
It's a good prediction there from Alex.
That's what I would like to see.
Wicked whispers. Well, that's enough Star Fox muck. From one muck to the other, before we go, it's time for, and by the way, I have no idea what the special effect will be, 60 Retro Seconds with Chris Scullion.
That was okay. That was
Rob
good.
64.
It should be 64
confirmed.
seconds, yeah. I've been dabbling this week with the latest Super Pocket from the folk at Blaze Entertainment, and today this one's got 14 rare games on it, all including the one thing. The problem with these handhelds, this is the title one they did before, is that it comes with a D-pad, and one of the main rare games on here is Banjo-Kazooie. Now, interestingly, this isn't an emulated N64 version of Banjo-Kazooie. It's almost like one of the PC ports that have been doing the rounds. So I don't know if you can see it very well on this camera, but we'll see when it starts. This is basically a kind of a native port of Banjo-Kazooie running at 60 frames a second. And because of that, they've tweaked the controls a bit to account for the D-pad. So obviously it doesn't work quite as well as the analog stick, but there's like a separate button you can hold down now to tiptoe and move slowly to account for all that. And it's actually, I've been playing it quite a bit and actually quite enjoying it. There is a better Evercade handheld coming in November, which has an analog stick, so it might be best waiting for that. But that bodes well. Because it looks like
that was 60 Retro Seconds with Chris Scullion.
He's very good at that, isn't he?
I've got a spin-off. I've got a spin-off on that.
Go on.
When they announced the the better one with the joystick, I cancelled my pre-order of that. It's like, oh yeah, why do I want one with a D-pad on it? It's a weird compromise. Anyway, I just got an Amazon notification saying it's out for delivery. So obviously I forgot to,
we'll reconvene.
That's even more embarrassing. That's even more embarrassing than buying a PS5 Pro when you said you wouldn't.
I thought you were going to say than Scotland going out of the World Cup.
No, that was pride. Nothing but pride. For the way
I wish I was recording my reaction when I got the message on Slack last night that Chris was buying a PS5 Pro. Let me tell you, that was
brilliant.
It's my birthday on Monday, but that was all my birthdays coming.
Actually, I was worried I was going to make him nervous because the first thing I said to him on Slack last night was, "Right, listen, real talk."
You absolutely did.
I thought he was going to shit himself because I'd caught him doing his usual, winding up the Discorders, but instead it was just like, instead it was just like, listen, this is what's happened. Just fucking be normal about it.
And I think you'll find that I was very normal about it.
Yeah, the flashing lights were a good touch.
I'm not joking. I texted my dad to ask if there was still the confetti thing in my house for when I turned 21 that we didn't end up shooting off, and I was going to explode it live on this podcast, but thankfully that was 10 years ago, so it's now been disposed of. Well, it's been a wonderful week. Thank you very much. I'm sure you're as hot as we are. We're going to go and chill out, as the cool kids say. Remember, patreon.com/videogameschronicle for more muck. VGC live tickets for October. Go and get them. I'm not going to ask these bozos what they're doing this weekend because the answer is melting. Until next time, say goodbye, Alex.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
Welcome to the Brotherhood, and we'll see you next week. Cool. Get your fans on for the lads.
One of the things that Bungie's incubating.
Wait a minute. Let me stop recording before you fucking perjure yourself.
Oh, and this is going to be in.